the health care law is working, though I can't say the same for you. Joining me now are Angela Rye and Dana Milbank. Thank you both for your time this evening.
Thank you, Rev.
Dana, is that how we're judging our lawmakers these days, by how many laws they repeal?
What great logic. I keep telling my editors I should be judged by how many columns I don't write, and they never seem to buy it. But you know what? There's a little secret for Speaker Boehner here is they're not even doing a good job of repealing laws, because if you want to repeal a law, well, you got to pass a law to repeal a law. So basically, they're doing absolutely nothing at all. Although that's not really fair. Just as this Congress has passed fewer laws than any other, it's had more votes than any other. So basically, this is the wheel-spinning Congress that just can't agree on anything.
Now, Angela, you know, Republicans are so opposed to this health care law that they are refusing to even help their constituents with it. The Hill reports, I want to read this to you, some Republicans indicated they will not assist constituents in navigating the law and obtaining benefits. That's outrageous.
It is outrageous. I think that a lot of members of Congress forget that they're not just politicians, they're also elected officials.
Right.
They're to serve their constituents regardless of party and whether or not they agree with the law. Not only have they gone about trying to repeal this bill over 30-plus times, they also refuse to acknowledge that the Supreme Court has also spoken. It's interesting because we just are finishing up a week where a jury spoke. The president said a jury spoke regardless of how many people, you know, whether or not they agree with what the jury said or not. But the same party can't decide to support what the Supreme Court has said. It's very interesting.
And at the same time, Dana, one GOP senator actually said that he doesn't think his party can repeal the law. Listen to this.
Right now, there are some popular things, as you know, with Obamacare. A lot of people are pleased that if you're a kid that can't get a job, if you have a kid that can't get a job until 26, he could stay on your plan. And we know about the pre-existing conditions. Do you risk some backlash if you end up just choking it?
Perhaps we could if that happened, but remember, the way we've worded this is we're talking about further enforcement and implementation of Obamacare. So we're not talking about those things.
So they're not even talking about fully repealing the law. I mean, what is it that they're talking about, Dane?
Reverend, this is government by demolition. And the whole idea with all these repeal votes, there have been 67 if you count the various ones they've tried, including the ones that Republicans have forced in the Senate. The whole idea is to undermine the law, to make people think it's going to be repealed, so there's more resistance to it. The whole idea is to poison people against the law and against government. It's not just the health care law. Republicans have been complaining for years that Democrats wouldn't pass a budget in the Senate. Democrats passed a budget in the Senate. Well, guess what? The House Republicans won't appoint people to negotiate a compromise. So the whole idea is to throw sand into the gears and prevent anything from happening.
But you know, Angela, Paul Krugman writes something that may get to the core of the problem. He says the GOP is attacking this law because, and he writes, conservatives are right to be hysterical about this. It's an attack on everything they believe, and it's going to make Americans' lives better. What could be worse? Is that really what we're dealing with here?
I absolutely know that's what we're dealing with, in part because in 2010, part of their strategy was they were going to work on repealing and replacing, and somehow they got stuck just on the repeal. So what's worse is having to actually find an alternative, because they're going to find themselves very similarly situated to what's in the Affordable Care Act already. They're going to have to address many of the same issues and concerns that are plaguing so many Americans. So what's worse is them actually having to address the second part of their alleged strategy, which is replacing.
And you know, Dana, like, for example, in New York, I've seen over the weekend that the premiums will drop by at least 50% in New York. And today, Jennifer Hudson and other celebrities were at the White House just this afternoon for a meeting, really to talk about how they can be helpful in educating the country's youth on the Affordable Care Act. How important are efforts like this in educating the public about the law, Dana?
It's very important that the White House and Democrats push back on this, which I think they've been a bit lax about this and are now finally realizing they've got a very good story to tell here. And another piece of that story is, as Angela was saying, the repeal and replace. Eric Cantor, the majority leader in the House, tried to replace it with a bill, and guess what? His own caucus was so opposed to it, they forced him to withdraw it. So they can't even pass sort of mom and apple pie things in the House now. It's completely broken down.
Now, Angela, is it wise then, with having celebrities like Jennifer, is it wise then to just go outside the Beltway and just start really breaking down to the American people what the bill is, what it does, and really talking directly to the American people?
Well, absolutely, and the administration already has. There are tons of different efforts in place to educate people on implementation. Of course, there are many folks in the country who really believe that it's been repealed. The miseducation on this is really bad, and so there are tons of implementation efforts already in play. We know that the repeal is going to get stuck there in the House. The Senate's not going to vote to repeal the Affordable Care Act. So, yeah, we've got to educate the masses.
Well, I think at the end of it all, when we get to past the politics, the question is the policy helping Americans? And when we see the rebates, when we see the seniors, when we see people with pre-existing conditions, we see young people who couldn't get insurance before now can get it up to 26. The proof is in the pudding. And those that never had any pudding ought to be happy and move forward. Angela Rye, Dana Milbank, thank you both for your time this evening.
Thanks, Reverend.
And fire up the popcorn maker and settle in. Reply Al is coming up next. Right here on Politics Nation, we have a very special welcome to the royal baby. Hey, King.